Hey guys, Artosis here, bringing you some more top ladder replays from the pros. And this one is as top of the top as it really gets. For this game, I decided, you know what? Let's go to the actual #1 player on the ladder. The current #1 player on the ladder, he's been #1 for like a week or so right now, is this Terran right here. It's BarrackS. BarrackS has been in a bunch of ASL tournaments. Doesn't get particularly deep in them. A very, very strong player, a very, very fast player. So going to be fun to see what he's going to do here. And I was just kind of sifting through like, okay, what's an interesting match for him? And as you can already see, of course, it's going to be the best non-Korean player in Dewalt. So that's actually kind of a fun matchup, right? The #1 Terran ladder player, who, by the way, is 2,920 MMR. With a record of 90 wins, 17 losses, and a disconnect. So that's pretty amazing. That's like an insanely high win rate. That is an incredibly high ladder score. In fact, he's over 100 MMR above second place. And that's really impressive. You know, obviously, BarrackS is one of the strongest players. He's in ASL almost every season. Whereas you look at Dewalt is very, very good. He's about a 2,600 MMR Protoss player. I don't know the exact MMR he has during this ladder match. This ladder match literally took place, I believe, yesterday, from when you're watching this. So very super duper duper recent. We're on the map Tempest, and of course, Dewalt's going to open up with a Nexus first. Nexus first on Tempest is incredibly strong. You know, so basically this map here, I'll show you on BarrackS side, right? Because BarrackS is doing a regular, it looks like it's going to be a factory expansion. But you see that it has a ramped natural. So basically with the ramped natural, your push potential against a Nexus first is very, very minimal. You're going uphill, so if they take any engagement on the ramp, you basically aren't going to be able to break them. So this is considered a pretty darn Protoss favored map. Mostly because of that. Also, you do have the low ground main base. So if they do start off with Zealots and rally them over, it's incredibly hard to break up through these little eggs and get to the high ground. Because if they stand in an arc and just keep attacking down, it slows you immensely since you're missing half of your shots shooting up. So yeah, it's a very tough map. But of course, you know, BarrackS, an ASL player who's #1 on the ladder in the world. I'm not too worried about him here against Dewalt, but we'll see how it goes down. So that Nexus is coming up. There's the 1 gate and gas. Dewalt going for some scouting, not finding him quite yet. And actually the Marine coming over to scout here for BarrackS. So he did send out this SCV, and it looks like he went to the top right, then the top left, and let his Marine do the rest of the scouting. The Marine will run over here and end up finding that this is going to be a Nexus first. And we can see it's going to be a Forge-based Nexus first. Now, we don't know if BarrackS is planning on cheesing. I don't think that he'll even try it here. You know, it's hard enough on just a level map to beat this build with any sort of rush from Terran. So I do think that very likely what we'll end up seeing here is going to be just a fast vulture into his command center. Now, really great micro here from BarrackS. Doing a great job taking no damage from Dewalt sellout. And Dewalt will end up running back. He needed to buy time with that anyways to get this photon cannon up. You can see him pulling a couple probes for just in case BarrackS tries to dive. But of course, he's not going to. The Cybernetic score coming up for Dewalt. So far, a really great opener for Dewalt here. Now, the Vulture comes up. Now, this is mostly to prevent scouting. And you want them to think like, oh gosh, is he going to cheese? Is he going to rush here? Because you want to make the Protoss player go for 3 gateways or 4 gateways. If you can do that instead of them going directly up into a robotics, you're pretty happy. Well, as happy as you really can be. By the way, you can see the insane power of Dewalt's build here, right? So the command center is not done yet. Dewalt is already up by 7 workers right now. And it looks like he's starting to cut some workers. And he was up 8 for, yeah, it looks like he's up 8 right this second. And he's, you know, every now and then he's like skipping one just to kind of make his build fit together. But you can see that huge advantage as far as workers go. This is The greatest discrepancy in openers, like a Forge expansion from Protoss, like if they go Nexus, Gateway, Forge, basically they never have to skip making a probe. And so it makes it really, really hard for Terran to catch up economically. So you see a 9-worker deficit to an 8-worker deficit going back and forth on that. But he is going dropship. So that is going to give some potential here to BarrackS to be able to deal some damage to Dewalt. Maybe he'll be able to punish him somehow. You know, you do have this high ground area, so maybe we'll just see a drop with siege mode. Yeah, it looks like that's going to be the case. Siege mode is being researched here. So it's going to be like a bunch of Marines to stop an incoming shuttle and, you know, maybe stop some Dragoons that try to come up there, as well as a siege tank going up to that high ground. Dewalt did go for his robotics right after a couple of gateways. We don't see like a shuttle started yet. Instead, it looks like he's going 3-gate observer, and in fact is getting a defensive photon cannon here. So he is thinking about dropship, but not the type that's going to be hitting him. Now, one thing to mention, yeah, look at this. 2 siege tanks along with 6 Marines. That is a pretty darn strong drop. I feel like I'm watching Lost Temple right now. And yeah, this might catch him off guard a little bit. Now I'm kind of wondering, okay, there we go. He pushes up, and let's see if Dewalt is able to actually stop this. His Dragoon taking some pretty big damage, already killing a few probes. So already this is doing pretty darn well, I would say here. How do you actually end up saving that Nexus? Well, the only thing I can think, right? So you are going to get a shuttle, and you do have Dragoons, so you might run the Dragoons up to the wall. Of course, one thing to mention is that you need this to spot. That's why the eBay is flying over, right? So also the Dragoons just get in here, and they are trying to plow down these siege tanks as quickly as they can. And an observer comes up to give them consistent vision, so that's pretty good. And the siege tank is almost dead. Ooh, just 1 hit required on that. Oh, man. And the siege tank ends up dying. Okay, so he kills a bunch of Dragoons there, but still a 7-worker advantage exists here for Dewalt. You know, the Marines, not sure how useful they're going to be. The dropship has taken massive damage as well. More tanks and some vultures on the way. Dewalt has actually peaked up in minerals really heavily here, so doesn't seem like he really macroed that well during this. Maybe kind of a stressful situation. But he does get a drop off onto this high ground and does clean up the rest of those Marines. So there's not going to be any more drops coming or anything like that. He's going to work on taking down the engineering bay. You can see some well-placed pylons and probes out on the map to kind of give him some vision of anything incoming. In fact, this pylon being one right there. And let's see if this drop can get anything done here for BarrackS. So he's going to fly in, drop off a couple vultures, and yeah, siege up. Let's see what type of damage. Ooh, that was a huge volley right there. 9 probes with a single volley. You can see this game turning around really, really quickly. In come Dewalt's Dragoons. They do take a pretty big hit there. And mostly BarrackS just targeting down probes. So he's now up 9 workers. The tech of Dewalt is not so good right now. You know, like looking at this situation, I feel like BarrackS has already done such a good job at catching himself up, right? Like we were talking about the 8-9 probe disadvantage for Dewalt, and you know, between those 2 drops, really the second drop is what really put him over the edge. The first drop seemed like okay-ish, but didn't make a lot of headway. It did slow Dewalt down a little bit, but Dewalt now is spending his money. He's getting that 3rd Nexus up. 4th gateway on the way. And, well, I mean, BarrackS is just kind of macroing very normally, right? Getting up to 5 factories, that's like completely standard after a starport opener. You want to get into your armory as well as 5 factories, and then you think about taking that additional base. It'll be interesting to see where he wants to take. It looks like he sent an SCV here, so maybe this was his idea, but with the pylon there, maybe you switch it over so you can get it a bit more quickly. Looks like the Marines will go up to help out against that pylon, so maybe he will just continue to take that down. Going after this pylon now. And yeah, just cleaning up the map a little bit, right? Getting a little bit of map control, a little bit of map vision here with those vultures. You can see another command center as well as another factory coming up. and actually a pretty big supply block there at 84. So you can see even ASL players at the top of the ladder get supply blocked while trying to micro drop ships and run around with vultures and everything. It's a very time consuming thing that we see. Now, Citadel is on the way here for Dewalt. He's got a big, healthy amount of Dragoons there in the mid running around. He has taken that probe advantage again, just slightly here, keeping kind of neck and neck with BarrackS at the moment. But it's only 3 base against 2, which is not so bad for how this game opened. Now, with more BarrackS making more factories right now, getting his upgrades going as well. He's getting that science facility, right? So he can get 2-1 upgrades going. Has some decent defense here, you know, between the missile turret, the Wraith, a few mines. Still running around with the vultures, trying to gain some info. And, I mean, this is the command center he built, so I wonder, like, if he built it here, it still might mean he wants to expand here. I think he'll expand here, not here. This is so far away from everything. I think that's actually really hard to take and to defend. But BarrackS moves up into a more central position. You can see Dewalt starting to run in. He's got double shuttle now, 2 Reavers rather, in there. Oh, those are going to be huge scarabs. Oh my God, blows up 4 tanks immediately here and gets a scarab in on top of those vultures as well. Ooh, blows up some more vultures also. It looks like right now, you know, that was a bit painful. That was really good for Dewalt right there. You know, killing off like 5 siege tanks plus a few vultures is a very, very good trade. He ended up losing a single Reaver, but overall, this is looking better than it was for our Russian Protoss player. Now, in comes the Wraith there, trying to block this, but of course, Dewalt had a good idea to have some Dragoons in there as well. He is starting to deal pretty significant damage in here. You know, we had the majority of the army of BarrackS out there trying to take a 3rd base, but now suddenly with this many units in his base, he does have to move back. He does have to try to clean this up, sieging up some tanks, sending in those vultures as well. And, you know, like, it looks to me like he is going to be able to clean this up, but Dewalt is buying a lot of time. He's killing off a decent amount of the tanks as well. He loses a huge chunk of army, though. Like, these Dragoons that were lost up here, those really didn't do anything. The flanking army there was a really great idea. Ooh, even chases him back in this missile turret. That was almost dead. Imagine if that had been dead. Could have come over here and done a Reaver drop on the minerals. Unfortunately, that did not work out for Dewalt. And now we have the supply advantage for BarrackS. He's going to go ahead, fly over, land that. In the meantime, Dewalt does have a 4th Nexus. He's also getting up into his Psystorm upgrade here. So we're going to see some Psystorm drops, very likely, some Psystorms against the incoming army. But BarrackS is not wasting any time. He takes a very powerful high ground position, like instantaneously after winning that battle. He just sent his units right across the map, macroing very fluidly at this point, and just getting as many units as he can out and pushing down this Nexus. It looks like this Nexus should fall. And when this Nexus falls, this is an incredibly powerful area. Let's zoom out a bit to really show you. But, you know, you've only got this small ramp going down, so Protoss can't really attack up there. And it's so close. He's going to be able to cut off all circulation from that main base coming out through the natural by just moving his tanks forward a little bit and just pushing slightly into there. So then it's like, well, do you push here or do you push here, right? And, you know, having that type of control gives you a lot of options as Terran. So right now, 1-1 upgrades are done. +2 is almost done as well. Dewalt over here only has +1 attack, gets a single Scarab off. Trying to drop some Zealots out and pick off some of these tanks. Unfortunately, doesn't kill that much. Really, a lot of grinding down of Dewalt's army is occurring right now by BarrackS. Let's go over here and look. He's got his 3rd base up and mining. 58 workers on both sides, continuing those upgrades. Looks like he's got... Oh, wow, that dropship's still alive. I actually had no idea, but it's at exactly the same health, so I assume it's the same dropship. That'd be funny if it wasn't. But Dewalt actually taking another Nexus kind of middle of the map, sending a bunch of probes up there as well. So knowing that he needs another base, you can't play 3 base versus 3 base for very long as Protoss. But here he comes. He's coming in with all of his units. Very few Zealots in here. Decent size storms up here. Looks like he will unfortunately get hit by some mines. They are trying to take down these siege tanks, but more vultures are coming in. Dewalt almost breaking through right now. Is he going to be able to kill off all the siege tanks? That's kind of the big question. He does get all the siege tanks, but more tanks are on the way right now. This is, oh man, this is very bad for Dewalt. He's dropping down below BarrackS supply once again. And GG is going to be called the #1 ladder player, takes out the #1 non-Korean player.